people of Moyglass, and all of you from outside of Moyglass who have come here today to witness the unveiling of this memorial in stone, erected here in Moyglass in the year 2016 to commemorate and remember our greatest Irish patriots who were executed 100 years ago in the year 1916 for having organised, led and taken part in the 1916 uprising, from which sprang the partial freedom of Ireland, which we are so fortunate to enjoy today in 26 of our 32 counties. The unveiling of this memorial here in Moyglass on this 15th day of March 2016 is a hugely important occasion for many reasons. This memorial is an extremely significant memorial for a number of reasons. Firstly, pictured at the top of the memorial is our national flag, the tricolour of green, white and orange, which represents Ireland. Our tricolour of green, white and orange was first conceived by another Irish patriot, Thomas Francis Meagher of Waterford, who in 1848, as one of the leaders of the Young Irelanders, travelled to France to inspect a rebellion in that country and to see what inspiration he might get from the rebellion over there. Incidentally, Thomas Francis Meagher's grandfather was a Tipperary man. Some people say he is reputed to have come from close to Feathert, others say close to Grangemokler, but in any case, he was a Tipperary man. Meagher saw the tricolour in France, and while still in France, he was inspired to create the Irish tricolour of green, white and orange. He had the first tricolour made of French silk and brought it back to Ireland. That Irish tricolour was first flown by Meagher from the Wolfe Tone Club at 33 the Mall, Waterford, in March of 1848, 168 years ago this month. In April 1848, Meagher presented that flag, our Irish tricolour, to the people of Ireland at a meeting in Dublin where he said, "I trust that the old country will not refuse this symbol of a new life from one of her youngest children. I need not explain its meaning. The quick and passionate intellect of the generation now springing into arms will catch it at a glance. The white in the centre signifies a lasting truce between the orange and the green, and I trust that beneath its folds, the hands of the Irish Protestant and the Irish Catholic may be clasped in generous and heroic brotherhood." Today's ceremony at Moyglass National School, where our national tricolour was presented by a member of Óglaigh the National Army, to the schools and to our youngest citizens, can be interpreted as a reenactment of the presentation by Thomas Francis Meagher of the Irish tricolour to the people of Ireland away back in 1848. It is also fitting that this memorial is unveiled here in Moyglass today on the 15th of March 2016, Proclamation Day. For the central body of the memorial contains word for word the text of the Proclamation of Independence, which Padraig Pearse read in front of the General Post Office on Sackville Street, now known as O'Connell Street, in Dublin on the 24th of April 1916. That proclamation, which we have here in Moyglass today in stone, sets out clearly and definitely the type of country which Pearse and all of the other members of the Irish National Volunteers who rose out against English rule in 1916 wanted for Ireland. An Ireland independent of England, which would put fairness, justice and equality as its guiding principles. The proclamation declared that Ireland would be a republic, for that is the only form of government which purports to treat all of its citizens equally. The proclamation was signed on behalf of the Provisional Government of Ireland by 7 of the leaders of the 1916 Rising. Their names are at the bottom of the proclamation where they signed their names: Thomas J. Clarke, Sean McDermott, P.H. Pearse, James Connolly, Thomas MacDonagh, Eamon Cant and Joseph Plunkett. Their names are now honoured and memorialised here in Moyglass amongst the people whose freedom they fought and died for. And as I said to Matty earlier, I believe that a stone such as this should exist in every parish throughout the country to remind us of where our freedom came from and the sacrifices that were made for that freedom. This proud memorial, which is unveiled here in Moyglass, is completed by the inclusion on each side of it by an image of each of the 16 men executed by the British government for having the audacity to challenge the might of the British Empire for the prize of Irish freedom. As we know, the reading of the proclamation, Public Nahéireann, from in front of the General Post Office in O'Connell Street in Dublin on April 24, 1916, began the 1916 uprising, which claimed in arms the nation of Ireland for the Irish people. The rising lasted for 6 days and 6 nights until shortly after noon on Saturday the 29th of April 1916, Padraig Pearse and the other leaders in Moore Street decided to surrender. The garrison at the forecourts, led by Ned Daly, also surrendered. The prisoners were taken to the Green outside the Rotunda Hospital, where they were held until the following morning. On the 7th day of the rising, April 30th, 1916, the garrisons at the Royal College of Surgeons and at Jacob's Factory surrendered. The remaining garrisons at the South Dublin Union, now James's Hospital, Boland's Mill and Jacob's Mill surrendered, and the Irish rebels' leaders were all taken prisoner. Pearse's surrender document read, "In order to prevent the further slaughter of Dublin citizens, and in the hope of saving the lives of our followers, now surrounded and hopelessly outnumbered, the members of the Provisional Government present at headquarters have agreed to an unconditional surrender, and the commandants of the various districts in the city and county will order their commands to lay down arms." The GPO was the only major rebel outpost to be physically taken during the week of the rising. The others surrendered only after Pearse's surrender order, carried by Nurse Elizabeth O'Farrell, reached them. The Irish rebel leaders were almost immediately court-martialed and were not allowed legal representation. On May the 3rd, 1916, the execution of the leaders began, and the men whose images are commemorated here in stone in Moyglass were executed by British firing squads. On May the 3rd, Padraig Pearse, Thomas MacDonagh and Thomas J. Clark were executed. On May 4th, Joseph Plunkett, William Pearse, Edward Daly and Michael O'Hanrahan were executed. On May the 5th, John McBride was executed. On May the 8th, Eamon Kent, Sean Houston and Colin Colbert were put to death. On May the 9th, Thomas Kent was executed in Cork. He didn't take part in the rising, but during the week of the rising, his house in Cork was raided by British forces. After a gunfight, he was captured, court-martialed and executed. On May the 12th, James Connolly, signature of the proclamation and Commandant General of the Dublin Division in the GPO, as well as Sean McDiarmid, were executed. Later on August 3rd, Roger Casement was found guilty of treason and was hanged in Pentonville Prison in England. The 1916 rising was over. The British thought they had won, and they had, for the time being. However, over 3,500 rebels were arrested and sent to various prisons throughout Britain. Many of them were eventually imprisoned in Wales at Frongach Prison. The Irish people were appalled at the long list of executions of the Irish leaders throughout the month of May and ending only in August with the hanging of Roger Casement. The fact that most of the surviving rebels were imprisoned together in Frongach in Wales gave them an incredible opportunity, and they used that opportunity well. Frongach became a fertile ground for sowing the seeds of Irish revolution. The Irish rebels used their time well and organised classes in the Irish language and in guerrilla war tactics. In Frongach, they decided that the war was not over and that they would continue the fight for Irish freedom begun by the leaders commemorated here in stone in Moyglass. That war, the Irish War of Independence, began on the 21st of January 1919 at Salahead Beg near Tipperary town. It ended with the truce of the 11th of July 1921. That War of Independence, inspired by the men and women of the 1916 rising, and it succeeded in winning for us the freedom which we enjoy in Ireland today. I won't go into the details of the War of Independence, as there will be lots of time over the next 5 years to study the details of that war as we encountered the centenaries of each event as they happen. I would like, however, to bring your attention to one small detail. On the date of the truce in 1921, Moyglass was part of the 7th Battalion of the Irish Republican Army. The 7th Battalion of the Drangan Battalion was comprised of A Company, Drangan, B Company, Ballingarry, C Company, Cloneen, D Company, Killusty, E Company, Moyglass, F Company, Laffin's Bridge, and G Company, Killinall. On the 11th of July 1921, the date of the truce, when the fighting stopped, of the 7 companies in the 7th Battalion, Moyglass had the most volunteers, 64. So you can all appreciate that the people of Moyglass were truly motivated and inspired by the men and women of the 1916 Rising. We, the Irish people, have been given our freedom by the hard-fought battles of 1916 and 1919 to 21. Having been given that hard-won prize of Irish freedom, a prize for which Irish people had fought for over 700 years, there is a duty on us to use that freedom to create the best Ireland possible for ourselves and for all the Irish people who come after. And so I would like to congratulate you all here in Moyglass for coming here today and for all your efforts in commemorating our patriots. In it you have commemorated the tricolour, which inspires us all with its noble ideal of unity. You have commemorated the 1916 Rising, the proclamation of 1916, and the executed leaders of the Rising. But perhaps just as important as this memorial is, the work which has been done by the children of Moyglass with their teachers on a proclamation for the future of Ireland to create a better country for all to live in is also very important. And for one, I would say that all of the leaders would be quite happy with the proclamation presented to us here today by the school children of Moyglass. If we had an Ireland that espoused all of the values that were included in that 2016 proclamation, I think we'd have a pretty good country. You, the school children of Moyglass, have a right to be proud of the work that you've done with your teachers on framing that 2016 proclamation. We, the people, we believe that it is possible to create a better country where we can all live in equality and justice, where no child or family is homeless, where all have equal access to medical care and the health service, where Irish people do not have to go abroad to work unless they want to. We believe it is possible to create a country which, in the words of Pearse, Connolly, McDermott, Clark, McDonough, Kent and Plunkett, cherishes all the children of the nation equally. We should remember that the Ireland in which we live today is politically divided between the 26 independent counties and the 6 counties which are still governed by Britain. The Proclamation of Independence, which is memorialised here today in Moyglass and which was read from the GPO on the 24th of April 1916, that proclamation was a proclamation of independence for 32 counties, not for 26 counties. A big part of the creation of a better Ireland should be the reunification of our people, so that Ireland once more becomes united, and in the words of Thomas Francis Meagher, the creator of our national flag, the white part in the centre of our flag will legitimately become the most significant part, signifying a lasting truce between Irish people of all traditions. We believe that those aims can be brought about by peaceful means and without any further loss of life. All of those aims for Ireland, the aims of equality, justice, unity and peace, will not happen easily, but they can happen. They will take hard work and sincere effort on the part of each Irish person. But I believe you, the school children of Moyglass, along with all the other children from schools throughout the Irish nation, are well able to bring about those noble aims of the men and women of 1916 and of 1919 to 1921 and create a modern, fair and just country that we can all be proud of. You have all begun that work with your efforts on the proclamation. I wish you well as you work towards to bring the aims of your 2016 proclamation and the aims of the 1916 proclamation into being. You have started well, and I have no doubt that you will succeed. Berigi Bua Galer.